Vanakkam Gurudeva and everyone. Happy to be with you again. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we will share the screen. Ooh, it says first topic. Okay. Doesn't give us the date. Date is one slide back. January 22nd in Asia. Oh, answering some questions to send into satsang@hindu.org. This is a question I receive on a regular basis about anger. In Living with Shiva, Gurudeva states, once anger is experienced, 31 days should pass to close the door on the chakras below the Muladhara before puja may again be performed by that individual. Simple waving of incense before the icons is permissible, but not the passing of flames. Ringing of bells or the chanting of any mantra other than the simple recitation of Om. So, the question to you is, what type of anger is Gurudeva referring to? Anger comes in many forms, and we'll take a look at that. How serious does anger have to be before we shut down our puja? Before answering the question, let me mention Gurudeva's reason for this restriction. They, referring to angry people, and all those who live in the lower nature are restricted from performing puja because when and if they do puja, the invocation calls up the demons rather than calling down the devas. The asuric beings invoked into the home by angry people and into the temple by angry priests or by contentious, argumentative, sometimes rageful boards of directors take great satisfaction in creating more confusion and escalating simple misunderstandings into arguments, leading to angry words, hurt feelings, and more. So, a ceremony can invoke the devas or it can invoke the asuras, depending on our state of mind. The answer to the question, what type of anger is Gurudeva referring to, plus some helpful suggestions on controlling anger, are found in my talk on anger management. Let's look at the nature of anger and the importance of controlling anger. Control of anger begins by acknowledging that it is a serious problem that easily leads to violence and is a quality that should be absent from those dedicated to making progress in their spiritual life. Important point we're stressing. If we don't think that anger is a serious problem, then we can't control it. It's like if someone thinks smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day is not a problem to his health, can't help him. Has to decide that it's a serious problem. So anger is, regular expression of anger is very important to making spiritual progress. And the first step to controlling it is acknowledging that it is a serious problem. Anger is further controlled by applying general or specific remedies whenever it occurs. Let's look at some examples of how anger is commonly expressed. First example, a man has a strong habit of swearing when things do not go well. Second example, a wife is upset with her husband, and rather than talking the issue through, she gives him the cold shoulder and refuses to speak about it. Third example, an argument between husband and wife gets out of hand and reaches the point where the husband threatens to kill himself if the wife does not comply with his demands. It's interesting, when studying about anger, I always would have thought if you're going to make a threat, you would threaten to kill the other person, but no. The common approach is you threaten to kill yourself. Interesting state of mind. Fourth example, a teenage boy is upset with his father for disciplining him and responds with sneaky anger, expressed by always forgetting to do the household chores requested by his parents. The instinctive behavior we are looking at is the tendency to respond to challenging situations by becoming upset, angry, and finally harming others with our words or our fists. Clearly, controlling our instinctive nature requires that we understand and control any tendencies to experience or express anger. Gurudeva makes an insightful statement about anger, observing that it is the most difficult fault for people to overcome. Why is that? Because it manifests in so many different forms: pouting, long silences, shouting, yelling, swearing, and more. Untitled Chapter 31 is on avoidance of anger. Shows that Vallabhar thought it was important. It is in fact the chapter that precedes avoidance of injuring others, which shows that to successfully practice nonviolence, we need to control anger. Here are two verses from the chapter on controlling anger. Forget anger toward all who have offended you, for it gives rise to teeming troubles. Anger kills, the face's smile, and the heart's joy. Does there exist a greater enemy than one's own anger? Something to reflect upon. This is a great story. Monastery is a controlled spiritual environment, thus the first-hand experience of anger is rare. However, a few years ago there was a great opportunity for first-hand observation when two carpenters were building a house next door to the monastery. One of the carpenters was more prone to anger than the other. Every few minutes when something didn't work right, he would start loudly swearing at length. Then about once a week there would be a huge argument, and he would stomp off the job and drive away with his tires squealing in defiance. It was definitely an interesting study in anger and human nature. True story. People's natures are quite different in their tendency to anger. Some are usually calm but occasionally flare up. Others anger quite easily. Then there are people who are quite selective about who they get angry with, perhaps just their spouse. In Living with Shiva, Gurudeva lists the 8 forms of anger from the book Angry All the Time. These are called the 8 rungs on the ladder of violence, meaning they go progressively down, not up. It's not the ladder of consciousness, which one goes up. This is the ladder of anger, which goes down. What do you think some of the rungs would be? What are some of the forms of anger that you are familiar with? Rung 1, sneaky anger. You act and speak normally, but purposefully neglect to do certain tasks others have asked you to do, pretending that you forgot all about the duties. Example, a teenage boy upset with his father for firmly disciplining him retaliates with sneaky anger by chronically forgetting to do his household chores. That's the first rung, not very major anger. Rung 2, the cold shoulder. You shun another person and make it clear you are mad about something. However, you absolutely refuse to let him or her know what it is. Example, a wife is upset with her husband for working late and rather than talk the issue through, gives him the silent cold shoulder for the entire evening. Rung 3, blaming and shaming. You fault others for something that happened and then tell them they are no good in order to make them feel shame. Example, an employee makes a simple mistake at work and her boss is upset. Rather than help resolve the problem, he points blame at her, demeaning and intimidating her with personal criticisms. Something we don't want to do. Rung 4, swearing, screaming, yelling. You lose control, keyword, over your speech and scream and yell at others. Those who have a habit of swearing are most prone to this form of anger. Example, a teenage girl has admitted to a minor wrongdoing at school. Her teacher, known for his foul mouth, yells at her harshly, using cruel, out-of-control words to punish her. So this is where I draw the line. Gurudeva doesn't say in his teachings, but this is where I've drawn the line in answering devotees over the years. When you have lost control, that's the key word. Were you in control? No. Then the remedy of not performing puja for 31 days applies. It does not apply in the first 3 rungs where you're controlled. You're in charge, but here you've lost it. You're saying things and doing things you wouldn't normally do and say. So that means the lower chakras are really you're strongly functioning in them. Rung 5, demands and threats. You demand that others behave as you want them to or threaten you will do something drastic if they don't, such as hurt them or yourself. Example, an argument between 2 business partners gets out of hand and reaches the point where the younger threatens to beat up his associate unless he gets his way. Rung 6, chasing and holding. You approach or pursue others and physically restrain them against their will and prevent them from leaving your presence. Example, a woman's fiancé has been accused of seeing another woman. Incensed, she allows him to work, grabs him desperately, and insists they talk about the problem right now. Rung 7, partially controlled violence. You physically strike someone for the purpose of forcing him or her to do what you want, but without losing control. Example, a young boy is caught stealing at a neighbor's home. The owner, outraged, confronts the boy and swats him several times with a stick, wrongly thinking that this will reform the errant youth. And number 8, the bottom of the ladder, blind rage. You physically attack a person with total loss of control to the extent that when you return to normal consciousness, you may not even remember the incident. Example, a sassy teenager deliberately insults an overweight stranger. Instead of just scowling, the fiery man flies into a blind rage and beats him mercilessly. So very interesting. You're so out of control, when you come back to your normal consciousness, you might not even remember what you did. And a question for you. Aren't sneaky anger and the cold shoulder harmless? How would you answer that question? First 2 rungs, aren't they rather harmless? The first 2 steps on the ladder of violence, sneaky anger and the cold shoulder, may appear harmless enough as they do not involve yelling and screaming or throwing objects against the wall. Gurudeva, however, makes the point that these 2 practices stimulate the lower chakras and over time can easily lead to more violent expressions of anger, as well as the experience of other lower chakra emotions, such as fear and jealousy. Therefore, for those on the spiritual path, it is best to not even indulge in either sneaky anger or the cold shoulder. Another story. Came across the following advice that I gave a few years ago on email to a devotee who was working to refrain from expressing occasional anger toward a parent. Thank you for sharing the details regarding your sometimes angry encounters with your parent. I would suggest you reflect on the seriousness of inharmony in the home. It is taking a few steps backward in spiritual progress. When you do sadhana, you move forward, but if anger occurs regularly, you step backward and as a result could end up standing still. It is like trying to save money for a purpose. You save each week, but then becoming angry is like spending what you have saved for the last month. It is difficult to make the financial goal. And taking anger more seriously, you are more motivated to avoid it at all costs. The devotee subsequently emailed again and said that the advice helped a lot. This, of course, the story is an example of the first step in controlling anger, acknowledging that it is a serious problem and is not an acceptable form of behavior for those who are serious about making spiritual progress. With this resolve firmly in mind, we can then take the second step in controlling anger, which is to apply remedies to correct the situation. First step, acknowledging it's a serious problem for spiritual progress. Second step, applying remedies when we do get angry. What do you think some of the remedies would be, drawing from Gurudeva's teachings? There's quite a few remedies, so I'll give you a minute. First remedy, affirm everything is perfect. From a mountaintop perspective, God is everywhere in all things, and everything is in a state of balance and perfection at every point in time. Affirm this into wisdom regularly to cultivate patience and wise acceptance, even of situations that tend to arouse anger. To do so, be seated, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and affirm quietly to yourself, I'm all right now, and everything is as it should be from a mountaintop point of view. Simple practice, very helpful. Second remedy, fill your aura with light blue. If you are overtaken by anger and resentment, emotions which fill your aura with blackish red streaked with yellow, sit in meditation, breathe and visualize light blue entering your aura and surrounding your body. The light blue will neutralize the fiery reds, and before you know it, the anger and resentment will be gone. Simply relax and visualize soothing blue radiating out from the center of your spine into your inner and outer aura. So light blue comes out from the center of the spine into the inner and outer aura. That's a very simple one. A theistic one. Third remedy, worship Lord Ganesha. The worship of Lord Ganesha is helpful in overcoming all emotional problems, including anger. He is seated on the Muladhara chakra. Tuning in to his Shakti helps raise us up into the Muladhara chakra and therefore out of anger and fear into a calm, stable state of mind. In fact, you can slowly seal off these lower states of mind and keep awareness permanently lifted above fear and anger through the regular worship of Lord Ganesha. One of the benefits. Fourth remedy, pay for each burst of ire. An effective and practical financial remedy is to put a sum of money, such as $5, in a jar each time you become angry, and later donate that money to a favorite orphanage or temple. Consistently performed, this penance soon makes it too expensive to get angry. This remedy impresses the subconscious mind that expressions of anger have karmic costs, and that anger can be completely eliminated by sincere efforts to overcome it. Fifth remedy, this one's very effective. Don't eat the next meal, the very next one. For those who can easily afford to put $5 in the jar frequently, an alternate penance is fasting. Each time anger arises, simply skip the next meal. Denying yourself a meal has a potent impact, deeply impressing your subconscious mind. If you follow this without fail, the instinctive nature soon catches on that whenever it expresses anger, it will soon experience hunger, and in this way is motivated to better control this destructive emotion. In other words, you're giving the instinctive mind a choice. Would you rather be angry? Or would you rather eat a meal? Well, most people would rather eat a meal. Same part of the mind, the instinctive mind. Sixth remedy, offer flowers. Put up a picture of the person you are angry with, and for 31 days place a flower in front of the picture. While doing so, sincerely forgive the person in heart and mind. When it becomes difficult to offer the flower of forgiveness because hurtful memories come up from the subconscious mind, write down the memories and burn the paper in a trash can. Say, I forgive you, for I know that you gave back to me the karma that I set in motion. Seventh remedy, perform 3 kindly acts. If you have gotten upset with another person, do 3 kindly acts to make up for it. This releases you from your anger and guilt even if he or she is unaware of your good deeds. Example, a husband shouts abusively at his wife after returning from work. After apologizing, he takes her dining to a place of her choosing, buys her an item that she needs for the kitchen, and gives her some free time by taking care of the younger children for a half day. Oh, I hope everyone got some new insights into anger and how we can manage it. That's the point. In Gurudeva's teachings is we can improve our behavior. If anger is part of our behavior, then we can figure out ways to lessen it and eventually eliminate it altogether. Our second topic is self-confidence, which is the 50th character quality. We're getting up there, up to 50, from our character building workbook. How would you define self-confidence? That's a simple one. The workbook gives this definition. Self-confidence means trusting in one's abilities and skills. I practice it by remembering my past successes when embarking on a new project. The opposite is self-doubt. So that's something I use now and then when someone is not feeling totally confident in accomplishing something. I say, well, remember how it felt in your past successes. Manifest that same feeling in the present moment that you felt in the past. It's easy to do because you felt it. So from that feeling of past success, you can feel confident and move forward. The opposite is self-doubt. Gurudeva's quote, all you can do in living your life every day is to make today just a little bit better than yesterday was. You will then have confidence in yourself so that tomorrow will be all right too, and you won't fear the tomorrows. In order to be confident within yourself, have no fear. In order to have no fear, say to yourself, I'm all right right now. This will quickly bring you into the here and now consciousness. In other words, sometimes we're worrying about the future rather than living in the present. So we don't want to do that. And we have a third quote. Someone who meditates has confidence in all departments of life. You can build that confidence. If you sit down to meditate, meditate. Don't get sidetracked on anything else, no matter how attractive it may be. There's a beautiful statement on meditation. Gurudeva says, before you meditate, Have in mind the destination and the means of getting there. That's a rough paraphrase. So that's the Shum meditation. We know exactly where we're going, and we know the portraits we're going to use to get there. So we just don't sit down and let the mind wander and call it meditation. Comparing the actions of one who is self-confident to one who is self-doubting. First situation, you get an unexpected offer to start a promising new business, and self-confidence. Remembering past successes, bravely accept the challenge. Self-doubt. Are assailed by self-doubt and tell the principles you have enough happening in your life. Second situation, when the Guru gives you a new spiritual assignment. Ukana Shum and Shum. That seems impossible, you. Self-confidence. Rely on your conviction that we are each a divine being and set out to succeed. Self-doubt. Fear you are not as strong as he seems to think and decide to ignore his instructions. Third situation, one day you wake up with a great idea that will change your life forever. So you, self-confidence. Use affirmations to enhance your confidence and set out on the new journey into the future. Self-doubt. Conclude this is just another wild idea for which you have neither the knowledge or the skills and do nothing. Reflection. Take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in self-confidence. And during these 2 weeks, when starting a new project you don't feel confident, use the affirmation, I can, I will, I am able to accomplish what I plan. And remember, affirmations work best when you think about the meaning, visualize a specific manifestation of the goal, and feel what it's like to accomplish it in the current moment. Think, visualize, feel. Thank you very much. Om.